are you?
In high-stakes interrogation, some tactics are a death sentence. They tried to break a terrorist by threatening his wife, but they didn't realize they just handed a mastermind the keys to their own destruction. The story opens with a man named Stephen Arthur Younger, an American citizen with a deadly pedigree. Stephen isn't just any civilian, he's a former member of the elite Delta Force, trained in the most advanced warfare techniques. But now, he's recording a chilling video, repeatedly stating that his real name is Yusuf. He's obsessed, recording the message over and over, determined to get it perfect. It's clear that Yusuf is a man on a mission, and he doesn't care about the cost. As time jumps to Tuesday, we move to an FBI field office where the atmosphere is electric. Agents are frantically scanning lists of suspects, trying to stay ahead of a growing threat. Among them is Special Agent Helen Brody. She's digging through files, but nothing is clicking until a colleague drops a classified dossier on her desk. It belongs to a man named Henry Harold Humphreys, but his files are heavily redacted. He's a CIA asset, a ghost in the system that no one truly knows. The only lead they have is his wife, a Bosnian woman whose name has started popping up in global intelligence reports, flagged for potential trouble. We shift to Henry's home, where the specialist instincts are on full display. The house is a fortress, rigged with high-tech cameras so Henry can monitor every shadow that moves. Suddenly, the news breaks. Yusuf has shot a police officer and kidnapped 2 children. The story is exploding across the country. Brody recognizes his face instantly. He was already on their watch list. She orders her team to pull his military records, discovering his deep ties to the U.S. Army. Her supervisor, Jack Saunders, storms in with a direct order: drop everything and find Yusuf. He admits that getting a clean file from the Army is nearly impossible, so they have to solve this puzzle with whatever scraps they can find. Brody realizes this is a massive operation. When she warns Jack they don't have enough manpower, he gives her a green light to recruit anyone she needs. There can be no delays. Back at Henry's house, he spots FBI agents at his door. He's unfazed. He makes a quick call to a high-level contact named Charles, demanding the agents be cleared out immediately. He hangs up and calmly grips his weapon, ready for a fight. Charles calls Brody, ordering her team to back off, but the interference only makes Brody more suspicious. She realizes the CIA was already investigating Henry because they believed he was a dangerously skilled man. The file had accidentally leaked to the FBI, and now Brody is convinced Henry is a threat. She sends in a tactical team to breach the house. Inside, they find Henry has already neutralized and tied up the previous agents. They arrest him and bring him to the FBI office for a high-pressure interrogation. When Brody demands his full name, he gives a cold, one-letter response: H. Just as the questioning heats up, Jack and Charles burst in. Charles warns Brody to stay away. H is under special protection, and the CIA will handle him. But Jack pulls Brody aside. He tells her their real target is Yusuf and that the country is in imminent danger. He offers her a spot on a highly classified, off-the-books mission. Brody agrees, and they are transported to a black site, a secret facility that doesn't exist on any map. At the secret black site, Agent Brody finally meets General Paulson. The general lays out the grim reality of the operation and how long they've been operating in the shadows. Suddenly, Charles and Henry, the man known as H, arrive. Brody is stunned to see the man she just arrested walking freely in a government facility. H looks at her coolly and reminds her, "I didn't come here on my own, I was summoned." Jack Saunders intervenes, making it clear that whether they like it or not, they are all on the same team now. Jack plays a high-priority CD recovered from Yusuf. In the footage, Yusuf executes a police officer and issues a terrifying ultimatum to the United States. He has planted 3 nuclear weapons in major American cities. If his demands aren't met by Friday, millions will die in a nuclear flash. General Paulson confirms the nightmare. Yusuf wasn't just a soldier in Iraq, he was a highly trained nuclear specialist. He isn't bluffing, he has the skills to build and deploy a live atomic device. The general then reveals a shocking twist: they already have Yusuf in custody. He was apprehended at a shopping mall, but Paulson believes Yusuf wanted to be caught. Despite being subjected to enhanced interrogation for hours, Yusuf hasn't uttered a single word. Watching the monitors, H begins to laugh. To a specialist like him, the military's torture methods are amateur. "Those things won't affect a man like him," H scoffs. He claims he can read Yusuf's psychological state and tell the team exactly when to strike with questions. To prove his dominance, H marches into the interrogation room and physically attacks the man currently torturing Yusuf, forcing the guards to pull him away. H points at Brody, telling her that now is the psychological window to talk. Brody goes inside and tries a good cop approach. She turns off the freezing air conditioning the military was using to weaken Yusuf and gently wipes his body with a towel. She speaks softly, promising him his freedom if he just gives up the locations. But Yusuf sees right through it. He looks at her and says coldly, "Not so soon. You still have a lot of time." Outside, Brody is disgusted. She confronts Jack, calling the entire operation a violation of human rights. She realizes the military is hiding Yusuf from the world just so they can break every law in the book. Jack fires back with the cold math of the situation. 3 nuclear bombs. Millions of lives. We do whatever it takes. Brody then turns to H, questioning if a man like Yusuf, a battle-hardened soldier, will ever break. H smiles grimly and replies, "Everyone breaks. You just need to find the right way to break them." Seeing no other choice, Paulson and Jack officially ask H for his help. H agrees, but he has one unthinkable condition. He works alone. No oversight, no rules, and no one to stop him, no matter how brutal his methods become. Paulson initially refuses, insisting on military protocol, but a group of high-ranking seniors overrules him. They know H is the only specialist who can get results. Paulson is stripped of his authority, and H is put in charge of the interrogation. H calls for his specialized equipment, tools designed for pure agony. For his first official act as lead interrogator, H approaches Yusuf. He speaks with a haunting, loving tone, almost like a friend. "Tell me," he whispers, "where are the 3 bombs?" Yusuf looks him in the eye and stays silent. The real battle has just begun. Without a flicker of hesitation, H takes out an axe and severs one of Yusuf's fingers. The room erupts. The observers behind the glass are horrified, rushing into the room to pull H away. Agent Brody is visibly shaken, but the high-ranking seniors have a different reaction. They issue a chilling order. Do not stop him. They realize that if H doesn't use these extreme measures, Yusuf will never talk. They give the specialist total creative control. H returns to his work. This time, he slides a heavy plastic bag over Yusuf's head, sealing it tight. As Yusuf gasps for air, H pokes a tiny hole in the plastic, leaning in close to whisper, "I am your worst nightmare. If you don't listen, I will take you apart piece by piece." Yusuf remains a stone wall. H shifts his focus to Yusuf's leg, and the brutality becomes too much for Brody. She desperately tries to reach General Paulson, but he admits his hands are tied. She corners Jack, arguing that these actions violate every constitutional right they sworn to protect. Jack's response is cold. "If those bombs go off, there won't be a constitution left to protect. Let the man work." Distraught, Brody retreats to the washroom to compose herself. H finds her there and, in a rare moment of calm, offers her a deal. "If you think your soft method works, I'll give you a chance. I'll provide the pressure, and you do the questioning. Let's see who breaks him first." Brody agrees, hoping to end the violence. She sits with Yusuf, pleading with him to talk before the torture goes too far. Yusuf looks at her with eerie calm and says, "I knew this was coming. This was always part of the plan." Brody tries a different angle. Family. She warns him that if he doesn't talk, the government will find his wife and children. "Don't let your innocent family pay for your choices," she begs. Yusuf remains unmoved, telling her she only has 2 days left to meet his conditions. The night becomes a living hell for Yusuf. H stays in the room until dawn, never letting him sleep. Every time Yusuf's eyes close, H douses him with freezing water. By morning, the torture scales up to high-voltage electric shocks. During one session, the machine seemingly malfunctions, refusing to shut down as Yusuf begins to go into cardiac arrest. The team rushes in to pull the plugs, barely saving his life. Brody finds H later, acting completely casual with his own family during a break. When she confronts him, H admits the truth. He sabotaged the machine on purpose. He wanted Yusuf to almost die so that when the FBI saved him, he would see them as the good guys and trust Brody more. As the FBI tracks a potential lead to Los Angeles, H returns to the room. He finds Yusuf complaining of shoulder pain and, in a bizarre move, plays soft music and tells Brody to massage the prisoner. While she does, H tells a haunting story about his time in Bosnia and the trauma his own wife faced. He turns to Yusuf and asks, "You have children, what do you want us to do with them?" This hits a nerve. Yusuf finally agrees to state his conditions. America must stop supporting dictators worldwide. The US must withdraw all troops from Islamic countries. The room is silent. America has a strict policy of never negotiating with terrorists. H suggests a strategic lie. Tell Yusuf the president has accepted the terms. But Yusuf is too smart. He demands a live televised announcement from the president himself. Frustrated, Paulson reviews old footage of Yusuf's arrest at the mall. He notices Yusuf stood in the same spot for 23 minutes, waiting to be caught. Paulson begins to suspect there are no bombs at all, that the whole thing is a hoax. Brody goes back to Yusuf, who has just been beaten mercilessly, and screams that she knows he's lying. For the first time, Yusuf breaks down in tears. "There are no bombs," he sobs. "I lied to get my conditions met. The devices are empty." He gives them an address for a location in the city. A tactical troop is dispatched immediately to confirm. But as Brody watches the monitors, a pit forms in her stomach. Yusuf has been too consistent from the start. Something feels wrong, like they are walking right into a trap. The team rushes to the address Yusuf provided, but they find no nuclear device. Instead, they find a room exactly like the one in his video. On the roof, they find a picture of Yusuf. The moment they move it, a massive C4 charge detonates at a nearby shopping mall. The explosion is catastrophic, claiming hundreds of innocent lives. Brody is pushed past her limit. She storms into the interrogation room, holding a knife to Yusuf's chest, demanding to know why he murdered those people. Yusuf is unfazed. He explains that he isn't a coward, he was caught on purpose to force America to face its own actions. He mocks their attempts to break him, declaring that until his conditions are met, the blood will continue to flow. As the clock ticks down, the FBI finds a breakthrough. A parking ticket leads them to a house containing a live nuclear bomb. It's set to detonate in 3 hours. But even if they defuse it, 2 more are still out there, hidden in the shadows. H realizes he is losing the psychological war. He demands they bring in Yusuf's family. When Yusuf's wife arrives, she is just as defiant as her husband, refusing to say a word until she sees her children. H decides to play his final, most unthinkable card. He brings the wife into the interrogation room. Yusuf finally shows a flicker of emotion, but he remains silent. Brody senses that H is about to cross a line they can never come back from. She tries to pull him away, but H is possessed by the mission. In a flash of cold brutality, H pulls a knife and slits the wife's throat right in front of Yusuf. The room erupts in screams. The officials drag H out as Yusuf wails in agony. H is unapologetic, reminding the elites that while they plan to hide their own families in bunkers, millions of regular people are about to be vaporized. He tells them they have only hours left to do the impossible. H tells the officials to bring in Yusuf's children. Brody is horrified, threatening to kill H with her own hands if he touches them. H promises he won't hurt them, but he needs Yusuf to believe he will. They lock the children in a room within Yusuf's sight. H gives Yusuf an ultimatum. Tell the truth, or the children die. Yusuf finally breaks. He gasps out 3 locations: New York, Los Angeles, and Dallas. The teams are dispatched immediately. But H isn't satisfied. Using his expert logic, he calculates the amount of nuclear material Yusuf had acquired. A man like this doesn't make 3 bombs, H warns. He makes 4. He is convinced a 4th bomb is hidden somewhere, and Yusuf is still protecting it. H prepares to move on the children to get the final location, but Brody and the team have seen enough. They storm the room, tackle H, and rescue the children. H tries to explain that Yusuf has played them from the start, that he gave up the 3 locations only to ensure the 4th one would definitely go off. The officials are torn, but Brody refuses to let the torture continue. Seeing the moral deadlock, H gives up. "Fine," he says. "We all die." He takes his knife and cuts Yusuf's zip ties, freeing him. In the chaos, Yusuf lunges at a guard, snatches his sidearm, and looks at Brody. "Take care of my children," he says, before turning the gun on himself. As the screen fades, we see the FBI successfully defusing the 3 bombs in New York, LA, and Dallas. The world is celebrating, thinking the nightmare is over. But H was right. Far away from the celebrations, A hidden timer on a fourth nuclear device hits zero. The film ends as the flash of a nuclear explosion begins to consume the horizon, proving that in the end, Yusuf's plan was truly unthinkable. They called in a specialist to do the unthinkable, but in the end, even the devil couldn't stop the countdown. This is what happens when the rules are erased. If you love high-stakes thrillers, hit that subscribe button now. Thank you for watching Cinemaned, and I'll see you in the next one.